Sykes, the Bottom Line Pharmacy podcast. We've got a great show for you this week, but before we get into the show, if you find this episode valuable, please like, share, and subscribe so we can help more independent pharmacy owners. Also, visit us at pharmacyaccounting.com. If you're overpaying in tax, if you're prepping to start, buy, or sell a pharmacy, or just have a gut feeling that your financials aren't quite right, we have a suite of services for every need your pharmacy is facing. Go to pharmacyaccounting.com and we can help you. Okay, now on to the show.
We got Kelley here, and we're glad to have you, Kelley, on the podcast.
Absolutely.
You've been around the pharmacy world for a while now with the PDS background and the leadership you displayed at PDS. Obviously impacted a lot of pharmacies. I'm sure it impacted a lot of our clients as well. So I just want to get right into it. With your leadership experience and expertise, you're seeing what pharmacies, the type of personalities pharmacists are, how they normally operate. And so what's kind of your, come right out, what's kind of like your best piece of advice for any pharmacy owner out there looking to grow their leadership, grow their, their stance in the pharmacy in terms of their employees and their pharmacy overall?
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Question, but
well, no, I think let me tease some of the things out that, I think are important there. So interesting. Let me give you a quick little backstory. When I first joined Pharmacy Development Services in 2010, when I asked the question, what is the greatest pain point for independent pharmacy owners today? The answer was leadership, right? Like they don't really see themselves as leaders. It's tough, people issues, time issues. There's so many variables that go into leading a high performance team, right? And so I thought, you know what? Great, we can tackle that, right? Like we can dive in and create a leadership program for independent pharmacy owners and their teams. Which we did. My business partner in the leadership growth formula, Terry Norvell, Sharon Rasnick, who was the vice president of service delivery at the time, and Terry and I co-created and then facilitated an advanced leadership program for years. I think by the time it was all said and done, we had probably graduated literally 1,000 plus pharmacy owners and their teams through that program. That's awesome. Irony is, fast forward, and I know you all are really wonderful partners with NCPA, as we are as well. I know we both participated in their core program this year, and they conducted a survey just recently, like within the last 2 years. So let's say a decade later, 13 years later, they surveyed their NCPA membership. And what do you think still the number one pain point is? Leadership.
Yeah. Management.
It's hard. They're wearing so many hats, patient care, payroll, you name it.
Every year it seems like there's another, item thrown into that hat.
There's another challenge. There's another variable. There's another hurdle, another obstacle. And it's really hard in this environment to not begin to be worn down by the obstacles. At the end of the day, what we like to say is that any sort of leadership development or leadership growth is an inside job, right? It starts with you first. And yet if you're tired, if you're exhausted and you feel like you've done nothing but just put out fires and deal with one crisis after the other, it's really hard to begin to, or to even fathom putting that energy, right? The energy and the effort behind what's necessary to create a highly engaged team, to create a coaching leadership organization where you're coaching for performance in real time. I mean, it's hard to see the forest for the trees at that point, right?
Sure.
And your team's looking at you. Yeah.
That's
and
it.
if they see you stressed out and, then it's going to trickle down for sure.
Bonnie, you hit the nail on the head. You're, as the leader, you are and manager of the team. You are modeling and mirroring what you want to get back. And,
Right.
I love to say that it's sort of, it can be the absolute most rewarding thing you ever do in your career. And it's also the most exhausting. It's the one that does not have a manual. It doesn't have a checklist there. And yet here's what we also know, sort of on the plus side, is that leadership is learnable. So that's why we feel like, what we're offering up to help folks be better leaders is a formula of sorts, along with some applicable skills and tactics and behaviors that can be learned. Right. And
Right.
yet, trust me, when you're trying to learn a new skill, what does that take? It takes energy, doesn't it? And it's difficult to see an obstacle as an opportunity if your resources are depleted.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
So you mentioned, Kelley, that, there's no checklist, and so forth for leadership. It's, it's inside, but you have the leadership course. So what's your approach to high level kind of overview of how you kind of train and teach leadership?
Right. Great question, Scotty, because it's, I would say that it's equal parts. There is some teaching, right? There's got to be some teaching in there. And we want to make sure that people understand that, everything that we offer up, because let me back up and say that we feel like we are just offering it up. I mean, imagine going to a buffet, right? So we're just offering it up, we're serving it up, and then you get to decide what pieces and parts or what dishes, right, from the buffet, what items do you want to select to work on? Because the isolating one skill at a time and really tackling it, it's like that the best way to eat an elephant, right, is one bite at a time. And so we try to really synthesize it down so that we lay the foundation for what's going on internally. And I will tell you, let me back up and just say this. Our leadership growth formula is the template that we use. So to answer your question in a very bottom line way, which I don't talk in sound bites, so I'm giving you the backstory.
Well,
and
if it works,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
The template that we use is our leadership growth formula, which is quite simply, you'll love this as in the accounting world, it's an equation, right? It's internal change plus external action equals desired results, right? And so if you begin with the end in mind, like we get results all day, every day. I mean, every day. Are they the results that we want?
Right.
If they're not, then we have to go back to the beginning and take a look at how we personally are seeing it, what we think about it, what we believe to be true about it, our thoughts and our feelings and our preferences. All of that intrinsic stuff has to be examined first before you can then even decide what action or what behavior do I need to change in service of getting that desired result. So you almost have to start with the desired result first. What do I want? What do I want here? What one leadership skill, if I elevated, would allow me to be just that more effective as a leader of my team, and then how do I need to look at it differently? Like, what is my perspective about it? How do I need to shift that perspective? And then what am I going to do about it next? Right? Like marrying up that shift in mindset. And it might be as very nuanced. And I'll give you an example here in a sec, but what one action or behavior can I take that will move me toward that desired result? Perfect example is I was talking to a pharmacy owner, one of my clients, I think it was last week. And everything that was coming out was, I have to do this and I have to do that, right? I have to, I need to. Even, words matter, right? Words create worlds. And when I heard that enough repetitively, I said, hey, let me put a pin in this and talk for just a second about semantics. I mean, it's a nuanced approach here. And how differently would you be seeing these situations if you shifted the word and replaced the word have to with I get to? I get to do this, right? Like,
Right.
there's
like it's an opportunity versus
it's an
like a
opportunity.
chore.
It's,
Yeah.
Have to, the connotation there is obligatory, right? And
Right.
oftentimes burdensome and overwhelming, where get to is privilege and opportunity, to use your word, Bonnie, right? And so, Scotty, what we have found is that if we can set the stage for you to understand, as a pharmacy owner or pharmacy team member, to understand how the brain works. So everything we do is rooted in neuroscience, not high level. I mean, we're talking just a basic understanding of how, because you're talking to Kelley
Lots
Babcock.
of neuroscience out
Yeah,
there.
no, you're talking to Kelley Babcock.
right.
So when I say I'm going to talk to you about this, they don't get worried, because it's me they're talking to. And yet what we focus on, just quite simply, is that part of the brain that regulates the fight or flight response, because that's what they're in right now, right? They have the amygdala, in that little almond shaped part of the brain that's in the midbrain, gets hijacked probably on a daily basis because of the stressors and the incredible constraints and restraints that independent pharmacy is facing today. And when that happens, here's the interesting thing, is that, these pharmacists know better than anyone that when that amygdala is activated and you go into that fight or flight response, there is a chemical flooding of cortisol and adrenaline in your system, and that rational thought goes out the window, and you are in survival mode. You are going, and look,
I can feel this. This is, I think you're describing me.
Yeah.
Right?
Bonnie's got 4 kids over there, so yeah, she's always in that.
It's a lot going on.
It's a lot
but
happening.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, and so, Bonnie, here's the interesting thing is, it's the brain's radar for threats, right? The interesting part about that is that, I mean, when, as we evolved as human beings, it helped us, when we were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. Now, the brain...
You need that when you're being chased by a tiger.
You do.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing is that the brain does not recognize whether you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger or whether somebody just rolled their eyes at you.
Right.
Or spoke to you in a condescending way, or used language that puts you on the defense, right?
Right.
Your brain just goes into threat mode.
Yep.
And so what happens is we see this all the time in a pharmacy setting, where somebody somewhere during the day is going to go into an amygdala hijack. And when you are flooded with that chemical cocktail, you're not productive. You lose time, you lose energy, you lose productivity, efficiency, all of those things kind of go out the window. And so, we like to be able to provide this context for what's going on intrinsically, neurologically speaking. And then let's talk about, okay, well then what are some pragmatic, practical tools that you can use, right? In how you communicate to avoid an amygdala hijack. How can you what does it look like to become a coaching leader? What does that even look like? What are the skills that are necessary to coach up or out? Right? And in a busy pharmacy setting, how does that even work? Right? What does that even look like to begin to coach your team around their performance in real time? Because that attention that we pay to performance is really where the rubber meets the road. And I got to add this because we love Marcus Buckingham's work. I don't know if you're familiar with Marcus Buckingham. He is a leadership expert, author. He's worked for the Gallup organization, ADP, Harvard Business Review, and he wrote one of my top 5 business books of all time. It's called The 9 Lies About Work. And his definition of a leader is one that we share often and repeatedly, is that a leader is simply someone who has followers. That's
interesting.
And so what kind of leader do you want to be, right? What, if your desired result is that you want to be a dynamic leader of a high performing team, then what does that look like? What does that mean? And it starts with paying attention to your team, right?
Right.
And being able to positively acknowledge, because we do know that more goes right in the day than goes wrong. Generally, right? Yeah. And when you think about positively acknowledging people and versus those opportunities where you must course correct, right? You've got to course correct their performance in real time. Having a tool to be able to not just apply in real time, a tool that's going to help you sustain that, right? Sustain it over time. Because, one thing that to me, the report card is, are you still doing it 6 months from now? Are you still doing it 6 years from now? And that's what we found with the folks who went through that advanced leadership program years ago. They are still talking about amygdala hijack. They are still talking about coaching leadership. So it sticks, right? It's got to stick. It's the repetition of that skill and that practice, just like anything else, so that you get better at it. And so we like to think of ourselves as sort of really helping you to develop a leadership practice. So behaviors and habits that you engage in regularly, that you practice. Practice is my favorite word, because we're all just practitioners, right? We just get up and do our best every single day.
That's right.
Well,
now, Kelley, I got a quick question.
Scotty shaking his head, Bonnie.
I tell you, you're hitting all the points, and I love it. But go ahead.
I love it too. No. I just, do you find with different people you've worked with over the years that there is sort of a shift positively in the workplace as far as, I know I've been a CPA for about 20 years. And this isn't a knock at anyone, but I feel like when I started, there wasn't this mentorship or someone helping me or teaching me how to be a leader within organizations that I've worked with. And then you're just all of a sudden kind of supposed to know how to do that. And I think that's across the board with the way things have been in the 90s, in the 2000s. It's Absolutely. Just, I think it's better now. I feel like I hear more talk about it. But I think it's a struggle that I hear in many different industries. That people aren't prepared for that. And it's something, I know you can't teach it like you mentioned, but I think it's just kind of, I come from
Kelley does.
You can, not specifically, like she said, a checklist, but there is a formula. But I just mean, it's just a struggle that I hear in many industries across the board. Like, I came from the time frame where you were just kind of thrown into, here's your job, do it. And nobody trained me or anything.
That's exactly right, Bonnie.
Figure it out. Yeah.
You're absolutely spot on. We, generally speaking, and independent pharmacy is no different. We got thrown into the deep end of the pool. And here's the other thing that I think is an interesting observation that I've made over these, because I've been working now with independent pharmacy folks for 15 years. Had an entire career before that.
That has a lot of value. Let me tell you, the fact that you know this industry and you know what they're facing, and you're trying to coach a leader in that environment, that carries a lot of value. So
a lot of weight. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I just got goosebumps when you said that, because I know, I feel like I'm really, we sort of hack into their lives for a living, right? Like that's what we do. And we become super intimate with the pain points that exist in the environment. And yet, the interesting observation that I made with independent pharmacy, which is different from other industries, and you may recognize this too, given that you are an accounting in the accounting space,
Mhm.
right? That's your day job. And in most industries, you actually have a business card with the title manager on that business card, right? And you do get thrown into the deep end of the pool. You sort of have to, learn the ropes. And yet I know in my former career that managing was my full-time job. That's what I did.
That's
I
what you
didn't
did.
actually
Yeah.
do the work. I managed it, right? And that is a foreign concept in independent
Mhm.
pharmacy. Everyone has so much more of a technical role, and I'm sure in the accounting space, it's interesting. I have a couple of accounting clients, and we have to build infrastructure for them, just like we have to build infrastructure. If you want to grow your business, you have got to create some infrastructure to support that.
It's
And now I'm putting my
absolutely.
operations hat on, right? Like I'm kind of shifting over into operations a little
No,
bit.
we've been living this for the last few years. I mean, Scotty
Right?
fusses at me all the time. He's like, you can't prepare that. You're a 20-year-old, seasoned person. You have to be managing that. But I'm
That's
a
exactly
doer,
right.
like I want to jump in. So
Well, and
same kind of
that's the
thing
thing
there.
about when you're talking about business growth and control are inversely related.
Right.
So, you've got to let go to grow. And
Yep.
the way you do that is through hiring, right? Recruiting, hiring, training the right people, getting them in the right seats on the bus. I'm sure this has been
Yes.
reinforced and emphasized probably numerous times on this podcast. I mean, it's a
Yep.
common theme.
Yep.
And yet, what is interesting is that oftentimes it's a huge shift for an owner to acknowledge that their pick is not leadership material. Their pick is an incredibly talented clinical pharmacist and needs to stay in that
That role.
lane,
Mhm.
right? In that role. And so who do you need? Who on your team? You might have a lead tech who can manage the whole thing, right?
Mhm.
And so understanding the strengths of your team and what is their unique superpower and how can you leverage that, and yet all of that coaching, understanding your team's strengths, that paying attention, it takes time, doesn't it?
It does.
It
Sure
takes
does.
We
time.
hear that a lot, Kelly. I hear some of my clients mention all the time, like I could leave for 3 weeks and I've got a tech that can run this show. If I
Absolutely.
could leave her like that, a lot. It could be
Right.
see it a lot. But you're right. You got to figure out who is best at what role. That's very important for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and keeping in mind too, the reason we love the word practice is because this is not something that you're done with, right? Like you
Right.
can't, like you get up and you do it all over again every single day. And
Well, times
so
change too. People change,
that's
and
right.
The
so
external piece of your formula, I think that's
you
what you were
got to,
getting at.
yeah, you got
If the
outside
external
variables
piece
all
has
the time.
changed, you've got to be able to change. And we
That's
see a lot of
exactly
people
right.
struggle with that in pharmacy. They're like,
Well,
this is the way I've always done it. We're going to keep
yeah,
doing it like this. I don't
that's
care what
exactly
people
right.
want.
Well, because it's the way we've always done it, right?
Right.
And you guys have heard that anecdote about why did the wife cut the end off the ham? Have you
Uh-oh.
heard that story?
I haven't heard this one.
I don't
Newlyweds. I'll
know.
tell it really fast.
Nice.
The newlyweds, right? First holiday, and the wife goes in to fix a ham, and she cut the end off the ham before she put it in the pan to put it in the oven. And the husband was like, "Why are you doing that?" And she's like, I don't know. My mom always did that." So the next time they were at the mom's house, and she was like, "Mom, why you always cut the end off the ham before you put it in the oven? Why did you do that?" And she's like, I don't know. I wish she's always done that. She's, but you know what? Grandma's here. Let's ask Grandma why she did that. And they were like, "Grandma, why did you always cut the end off the ham?" And she looked at them and she was like, "I didn't have a pan big enough." It's just like, ooh, right? You know, like,
this is the reason.
Okay, what? You know,
okay.
so there's so much that has been ingrained legacy-wise, historically in independent pharmacy, right? Like we are dispensers, we are X, we are this, we are Y, and so really to be able to sort of shake it up, and that's where understanding what kind of leader you are helps. Because, you know, are you primarily a visionary leader? Are you, are you a coaching leader? Are you an affiliative leader? I mean, we lean into the work of Daniel Goleman in his work in his book, Primal Leadership, around 6 different leadership styles, so that, they're like, and leadership styles are situational. I mean, they're like golf clubs in a golf bag. Right. You want to pull out the one that's going to serve you best and get you the best result. And yet they all have pros and cons. I mean, coaching leadership is optimal, right? And yet we know there's 2 things that get in the way of coaching leadership, and that's time, and the person has to be coachable. I mean,
you got to be coachable. That's a big one. Some people don't want to be coachable. Yeah. That's a big one.
And also knowing your leadership role. You know, I got my feelings hurt 5 or 6 years ago when I was told that I never, ever should do any training because I could not train. I'm not a trainer. And it was kind of hard to hear, but it's very true.
Well,
but, it wasn't an insult. It was just like, that's not your thing.
Yeah.
You know,
well, and had you
I don't
trained?
have the patience for, nobody's trained me. Yeah. But I came from, like we talked about before. No, absolutely not. Yeah. But you have to learn what you're good at and what you're not.
Well, yeah.
And then there's people on our team who are fantastic trainers. I mean, they have the patience and they're, the ability to do that. So yeah, I mean, that's just one small example of something I had to learn over the years. Well, I'm not going to be good at everything. So.
Well, that's true. And so often, things like being a facilitator or being a trainer, you get thrown into the deep end of the pool there too. And that's the hard part about operating and, operating an independent pharmacy is that you are managing so many multiple priorities. Yes. And training tends to go to the, it's just like you throw them in, you have them shadow somebody, watch a video or, and that's why honestly, we moved away from doing live programs this year to offering on-demand programs because it's more of a performance development solution that independent pharmacy owners can wrap their heads around, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Because, first of all, the appetite for that kind of travel is just not there anymore. And you can train your entire team, right? Like,
right there.
In a very short window, in a very short period of time.
And when it works best for you and you can start and stop and
that's absolutely right. It's self-paced. We add in a live coaching component so that they can, they really have that accountability and we can reinforce the learning for them. And it's still tricky, right? It's still tough because here's what typically happens. And I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. The pharmacy owner, especially if they're still working behind the bench, that's when it gets hard. Yeah. Because when you are a pharmacist working behind the bench, that is what you are. You are a pharmacist.
Yep.
It's very difficult to try to then also be a manager and a leader and a coach and all of those other things. And so being able to course correct when things go wrong, being able to positively acknowledge when things go right, tend to fall off the radar.
Right.
Here's what we know, and these are statistics from the Gallup organization. Positive acknowledgement is 30 times more powerful than negative feedback. Because what happened?
Where's my Chris Corneliuson praise?
Yep.
Yes, praise. I've got it on my desk as a praise 10 times a day.
There you go.
I got one right here in my drawer.
Yeah,
I know. Look at
Shout out
this.
to Chris. Check
Shout
his
out to
podcast
Chris.
out. Yeah, we'll put his podcast in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you think about when you're I don't know about you, but if anybody's ever come up to me and said, "Can I give you some feedback?" It's never been good.
Yeah.
And
Like, oh, Lord.
and now at this stage and age in my life, depending on who it is, I may say no, thank you. Like, no, I don't want your feedback. And the brain goes into fight or flight, right? So that amygdala gets hijacked, and so that's why positive acknowledgement is so much more powerful, 30 times
It
more
is.
powerful than negative feedback. Here's the kicker, though, and this is the really important statistic that I want to share. It's positive acknowledgement is 1,200 times more powerful than ignoring people. And what happens is we just let our star performers just do their thing, right?
Yes.
We trust them. The positive intention is there. We trust them. We love them. We are, thrilled to death to have them on our team. And so we just let them go. We let them do their thing. And so I like to encourage folks to remember that those rock stars, they may be low maintenance. They're not no maintenance. They must get that positive acknowledgement because it's 1,200 times more powerful than just ignoring them.
It's a good
They
point.
It
need
really
something.
is. Yeah.
They need something.
Yep.
Like, give them that positive acknowledgement. And we provide an assertive communication technique that helps you do both, right? That it's a multi-purpose tool, right? It allows you to provide course correction without triggering that amygdala. It allows you to positively acknowledge folks. Then you've got that really wonderful tactical tool from Chris with the praise coins, right? If you need a structure to remind yourself to do it, and that ratio is important, then you've got that in your back pocket as well to remind yourself to just give those shout outs. It takes a nanosecond,
And
right?
it goes a long way.
It is.
So.
It does. I mean, even for myself. I love for someone just to say, "Nice job." Like,
Good
that's
job.
great. I mean,
Because
that's
I'm
it.
like,
I mean,
terrible job,
and I
Parker.
go,
What are you doing?
and I go, oh, it's like, I call it stroking. My husband's like that too. Like, he would rather someone tell him, "Oh, you did an awesome job today." He'll come in and talk about that. He cares more about that than I think he would a raise. I mean, it's just,
absolutely,
he wants somebody to tell him he did good.
Let's go back to the neuroscience. You know what's happening when you said you feel good is because now your brain has flooded your system with dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin and endorphins. Those are what we call the performance chemicals, right?
Yep.
So it is a neurological fact that you're being flooded, and that's why we call those the performance enhancing chemicals that exist. If we just optimized for them, they're already there.
Right.
The brain's like, oh yes, I'll do more of that because I love that feeling. Right.
Kind of like the low hanging fruit.
Huge.
Just, if you don't even know where to begin, just tell your people, like, "Hey, you're doing a good job here." I mean,
absolutely.
We appreciate you. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And be as specific as you can, right? Because, I want to be clear that we're not talking just about, sort of gratuitous throwaway.
Just checking the box. I said that today.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, great job. Great job. We're talking about genuinely seeing that person's value and being able to identify it, right? Like when you handled that tricky situation with, patient Susie over there, wow. Unbelievable job.
Yeah.
Your communication skills really, really came through loud and clear when you had to handle that situation. I mean, it doesn't take, but again, a nanosecond. And yet I know we're kind of down in the weeds. And yet that's sort of where you get a little bit of a flavor and a taste for where we like to start with how to become that coaching leader who coaches for performance, right? And who builds, through coaching, builds a high performance culture, because that's going to, here's what I love to say. When you have a high performing culture, you have alignment. And when you have alignment, you can accelerate. So that's what gets you the growth. right? Everybody's moving in the same direction. You can accelerate, and that leads to the bottom line results, right? There is a direct correlation between employee engagement and performance and the bottom line. 21% in profitability, or maybe 22% in profitability and 20 or 21% in productivity when you have a highly engaged team, right?
I love it.
And
I love it.
I have a perfect example in my head of a pharmacy client that we work with that's just this. He doesn't even work that hard. He should. He knows he's going to hear this, and now I'm talking about him, but he doesn't even work that hard with his cost of goods sold. And his main focus is an efficient and a happy team, and they are the most efficient payroll numbers that I have ever seen in an independent
Well, there you
pharmacy.
go.
And they
There
do
you
not
go.
leave. They're happy. Right. And again, it's not that he's overpaying them, but he takes care of them. But they listen to him. They're efficient, and they get the job done. And I think if you can get that formula perfect,
right,
which I think he kind of almost has, I mean, you can really make a difference in the numbers as well.
And here's the thing about that perfection, Bonnie, is that it's really not even perfection as much as it is a commitment to sustaining it, right? Like you paying
Absolutely.
attention and doing the work every single day that sustains it. Because all it takes is one bad apple, right? Like one person who's not aligned with the values of the team, and it can really create the drag. It can create a drag on performance, productivity, efficiency, the whole 9 yards. Because and that's why we also help, because look, we know that leadership, managing to high performing teams, again, number one pain point for most independent pharmacy folks. Time is the second one, right? Time is right there. And so we help folks to understand how to manage their time better too. Not just their time, their energy. Because I don't know about you, but I might have an hour of time wide open, and yet if I've been sucked dry and I have no energy left for it, it's not gonna matter.
It's not gonna matter.
Yeah.
It's not gonna matter. So we really try to provide that level of understanding intrinsically first. Like, let's start with me. What's happening? What do I need to do to be the leader that I know I can be? And what behaviors do I have to practice to get there?
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
Scotty, that's the bottom line.
There's been a lot of bottom lines on this one, and I would love to do a part 2 of this because this is just good stuff. I mean, you could go on and on about this topic.
Oh, Scotty, I know. I know. I don't talk in
sound bites.
It's hard to
squeeze it in 30 minutes. But Kelley, I guess
accounting firms, Kelley.
Yeah.
Yes, we actually do. We've actually done on-sites.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have an accounting firm a CPA firm in St. Louis. As a matter of fact, that they're still clients of ours. And here's the thing, Scotty. I know I wanted to go back to address that point, that that's what is so fulfilling for me at this stage and age in life, is that I feel like, I have this entire career of experience and wisdom, and I've done nothing but lead and manage teams, some higher performing than others, right, toward business results my entire adult career. So I'm a bit of a unicorn in that I love the training and the facilitating piece of this. And yet I also have this sort of roll up your shirt sleeves, get in the trenches, operational experience about helping pharmacy teams build their infrastructure, right? So that they can grow. And so you might imagine, I like to say that my content closet is a big walk-in closet. I got a lot of shopping.
A lot of stuff in there.
Yeah. A lot of stuff in there, Scotty. A lot of years of content. Hanging in the closet there that we could have a lot of fun. A lot of
good stuff, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure.
I guess if there's one thing to leave our listeners with, Kelley, kind of what would that be out of that content closet?
Wow.
That's a hard.
If somebody, let's put it this way, if somebody's a new pharmacy owner, they're a few years in, they're seeing the challenges in the industry, and want to build that high performing team. Take it away.
Understand that being an effective leader means managing yourself first. So get as clear as you can on who you are, what your superpowers are, what your natural strengths are, and grant yourself some grace and hire out the rest, right? Like surround yourself with a high performing team, and then take on that coaching leadership role to help yourself and them be the best you can be. It all starts with you. That's what I would say, is that don't look externally, look internally first. Who do you want to be? Love this quote. Who you are is how you lead. So be selective and judicious in your behavior.
Love it.
Bottom line.
Bottom
That's
line.
the bottom line.
It's a bottom line pharmacy.
And I got to tell you, you guys, if you want to do a part 2, you should hook up with my partner Terry Norvell, because she can continue the conversation in a meaningful way.
Or we get you and Terry on here, then that would be.
We love that.
Maybe we should do a live podcast town hall.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, we would so sign us up. Terry and I love doing these things.
Have a ball with
love doing these things together for sure.
Yeah,
we're sort of, it's funny because at a recent CE, we did a CE and then a 1-day program at Cardinal in Denver in July. And somebody came up to us and said, your content was great. What we really liked, though, was how you guys interact with each other, because we've been working together for so long. It's just a natural fit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Me and Dad get that from time to time.
Yeah, you may want to work with them personally.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll have to
absolutely.
get you signed up with my dad. No, but
let me offer up one more thing really quickly before we wrap up here. And I don't know if you want to put this in the show notes. The thing that gets folks, they can intellectually wrap their head around the fact that they need to do some work to be a better leader in order to deal with employee issues, right? Intellectually, that makes sense. And yet the time piece tends to get in the way, right? Like, I just don't have enough time. So you can send folks to our website, and they can get a free downloadable ebook about how to make friends with time. I want to offer that up as our gift to anyone.
What is that website, Kelley?
It's leadershipgrowthformula.com.
Leadership
growth.
I may have to go get it. I'm going to have to go download it myself.
Yeah, it really will help you shift your perspective around how you look at time, sort of old school, new school, and how you can make friends with time. And it's one of our most popular ebooks.
Nice.
Great.
Well, Kelley, thank you again so much for being on.
Thank you.
We will have a part 2. We will plan on that.
Awesome.
And but we certainly appreciate you and appreciate everything you do for pharmacies out there. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Got it. Well,
thank you,
likewise,
Kelley.
My privilege and my honor. It's been so fun to be with both of you this morning. Thanks, Bonnie and Scotty.
Thank you.